Welcome to the Right Club Podcast, where the focus is on helping you, the real estate investor, advance to the next level. And now let's join this week's hosts and share ways for you to customize your life.
What kind of properties are you investing in? Are you doing land development out there, or are you buying multifamilies? Can you talk a little bit about that?
So a mixture. Yeah, I do have to say there's another partner on some of these properties as well. There's a few. There's agriculture, so there's a lot of farmland like wrapped up in there because agriculture is very cheap, right? And then it's mostly apartment blocks and then duplexes and triplexes and that type of thing, all within the same cylindrical area. So it's very. I don't have all my eggs in one basket, is what I'm trying to say, right?
Diversified?
Diversified because like agriculture is very cheap over there. It's very, very cheap. And like I don't know thing about farming, but the reality of it is just if you have your own sort of property, you need to know a little bit about it, right? And again, like I said, the cost of labor is very, very, very cheap, right? So there's a lot of different things that you can do over there. And there's a pretty staple sort of textiles that are going down there as well, and staple crops that they're using. And you can lease a large swath of land for very, very minimal amount. Like I saw a listing a few days ago, and it was about 300 acres, and the amount of leasing for I think it was like they were asking for something like $3,000 a month for 300 acres of agricultural land.
And talk a little bit about the leasing, because when you mentioned that earlier, I had some questions on that. So what are the pros and cons to leasing land? Is there anything that can be done without your permission? Is there risk that you could lose that lease? Like, how does that work? Or is it just an extra payment essentially that you're worried about?
So this thing is the big thing that will kill off most investors, right? Because they don't like the concept. They just don't. But it's a concept that most places in the world work off of. Right? Most African countries, I know China, that's the only way you invest in real estate. You cannot own land. The concept does not exist like that. That's a very Western sort of thing. It's you lease the land for 100 years, right? And then 99.999% of the time, you're allowed to renew, right? And it's not for the full purchase prices like you did previously. So, these things are things that there's a lot of trust that's inside that system. Right, it's like trying to say that you're going to go from capitalist to communist kind of thing. There's a lot of trust based on that system. So will I say the government has been reneging on those leases? No. For the vast majority of outside investors, they've stayed very, 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 very stable. Right, it's because the significant amount of questions that would happen and concern if those leases were basically removed or drawn out or destroyed or whatever it was, you would see everyone walk away from the country quite quickly, right? And that's the same principle in Hong Kong and Shanghai and all these other places as well. So those leases are for a significant term, okay, and it's just directly with the government, and it does last for a significant period.
Thanks for listening to the Right Club Podcast, where the focus is on helping all levels of real estate investors advance to the next level and help you customize your life. Be sure to tune in next week at rightclub.com/podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you get a few seconds, please rate the podcast wherever you're listening. It helps the show get noticed by others like you, and we truly appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe.